time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here, here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Hey! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod. I'm your host, Josh, and we've got our fourth part for Obi-Wan Kenobi, our after show. We've been diving into all these details about the plot, about the character arcs, just getting into the breakdown of each of these episodes coming out for the miniseries. Well, it might not turn into a miniseries. It might actually be an extended series that we may get a season 2, but we'll get into that in a little bit. And today we've got a few voices joining us in the Escape Pod. We've got our co-host Blake, and our returning voices Bryce and Darian. And we have a new voice on the show. His name's Ethan, and we're all going to be chatting about Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 4. So let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone.
All right, part 4.
Part 4.
It should
What's
be
up,
titled, Leia is Still There.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, by now I was thinking that she'd be gone, but I guess not.
I thought the show was called Riva. Watching the wrong one?
Oh man, yeah, you're watching the wrong series.
Riva, a Star Wars story.
Speaking of which, I'm jumping ahead too much, but what a tease when Vader came in there.
Yeah.
I got excited for that. There's so many parallels between this episode and Jedi Fallen Order. It was kind of
There is.
It was
yeah.
kind of. I almost felt like they were ripping it off too much.
Yeah,
I felt like it was
yeah,
basically the same thing, but
No,
I don't know.
I get you. Yeah. Have you guys all played Fallen Order?
I have not.
I've watched part of the campaign, but that's about it. I kind of know what happened.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I did. I played it through not too long ago. Yeah,
It's a good game.
I'm glad
yeah.
they're using the settings and the like. It's such a cool world.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever the heck that water moon is called, I already forgot.
Nur. Yeah, Nur.
You
Yeah.
would think though,
Yeah.
because this is after Jedi Fallen Order.
It is. Yeah, years later. Yeah.
You think they would have,
Oh yeah.
stiffened security for Jedi who swim in and break in, right?
Yeah, you'd think so. But no, you're right. I mean, bringing it up, I mean, it's even the way that Obi-Wan enters the base, it was exactly the same as Cal Kestis. Yeah.
Do you think
Like
they
through the water?
Yeah, it goes through underwater door. Very similar to Spy Kids.
Yeah, sneak out of the water, like you kind of crest the water and then assassinate one stormtrooper and sneak in.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that they just replaced that stormtrooper. Like he
It's like
just got his
first-
fresh new job.
Yeah, first
Gotta
day
be the
there.
And,
worst
like-
job on site. Like,
I don't want to jump ahead, but the window cleaner just finished putting in that new glass in the tunnel. It's like finally.
Yeah.
I was half expecting them to escape the exact same way Cal Kestis did. Just like breaking the glass and getting out like Bryce was kind of saying there.
It's funny. I remember how he enters the base. I can't remember how he gets out in the game. It's been a little while since I played.
Yeah, you break the glass and then you swim out, I think.
Oh, okay. All right.
It's when Vader's
not
chasing
where
you.
Vader broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vader broke the glass, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Vader breaks glass. Okay. All right. Out of the window, right? And you just
Yeah.
swim out. Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, where do we want to start? There's a lot of cool stuff.
There is. Yeah. I mean, we may as well just start from the top and kind of make our way through. There's a decent amount of stuff here, but I just want to start out. Let's just go around. We'll start with you, Blake. Initial thoughts of this episode. I mean, it's 4 out of 6. How many Bantha points you give this?
I really liked exploring the Inquisitor's temple, and I love the spoilers revealed that we found out. This is the first time we ever see this. This is actually a tomb. I'm really curious more about that. And they're all these looks like Jedi and maybe ancient Jedi.
Yeah.
Or some sort of Force wielders, and they're all frozen in amber.
Exactly, from Jurassic Park.
That's right.
You can extract their DNA.
And then like clone Jedi, I guess.
Yeah, they timed it perfectly with the release of the new Jurassic movie.
Man, how many attempts did it take them to
Jedi
get Snoke
Park.
right?
Welcome to the Jedi Park.
Just like old ass Jedi just walking around everywhere.
They're just meditating and relaxing.
Yeah, being boring. Yeah.
Floating rocks.
Yeah, that part was great. What cool world building. That was awesome.
And I loved Ewan McGregor's acting there too. Like he looked genuinely shocked and concerned that he uncovered this.
Yeah. Yeah. Bryce, what'd you think of this?
Yeah, of course I love that. That scene was super cool. What else? I actually kind of enjoyed the interactions between the what is she? Seventh sister or third sister?
Third.
Her name's Reva.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked her interactions with young Leia. I thought it was like kind of interesting to see like a child kind of almost being tortured by a Sith. Like it's pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Darian, what's your lowdown on this?
I think so far I kind of thought this series is going to take a different turn than it is going. Like, I'm kind of disappointed in the whole Leia storyline, if I'm being honest. But considering that's what it is, I did somewhat enjoy the episode. I liked. Is it the Inquisitorius? Is that what this structure is called? This triangle structure?
Yeah, Fortress Inquisitorius.
Fortress. Okay, that's a weird name, but yeah, no, I definitely. That was really cool, and the tomb thing, like you said, Blake. Looking forward to like learning more about that. Would have liked to see a little more Darth Vader, if I'm being honest, because I love Darth Vader and I really looked forward to seeing him in the series. But yeah, I don't know. I'd give it like a 7, maybe 6 or a 7.
Yeah,
out of 10.
Nice. Ethan, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh man, yeah, I would give it probably around a 3 or a 4, to be honest. A lot of things in this episode I didn't like. I just thought that there's a lot of kind of goofy scenes. I didn't really like the fact that Reva's interrogating like a 10-year-old. The entire Rebel alliances. And then like the whole little like fight scene with undercover Imperial lady Tala, I think that's her name. Like slapping the stormtrooper's helmet, and then he's like out for 10 seconds, and then choking out a guy behind like 4 Imperial officers, like no sound.
Just found it a little kooky, I guess.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought those were kind of weird. Again, like I think too much screen time for Reva, not enough Vader, and then like the whole Vader end scene with her, where he said like, "Okay, you had your chance now. Like you know what's gonna happen when you fail," and then he lets her down gently after, like doesn't even kill a stormtrooper, doesn't do anything like to get his anger out. I just thought that was like pretty out of character for him, but. Again, there was other things in this episode that I liked too. Like I liked seeing the all the Jedi kind of held in that whatever Jurassic Park syrup.
Yeah.
And I like seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of get his Force abilities back a little bit and use like more,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there are things I liked, but yeah, I was pretty disappointed. I had higher expectations for this.
That's fair. You know, a lot of people probably share that opinion. You know, a lot of Star Wars fans out there, and I'm sure between all of us here, you know, they'll hear something they can relate to. For me personally, I'm just gonna bring it up because I mean I agree with you 100%. Seeing Obi-Wan finally use some actual Force powers was great, and seeing some more action from him that wasn't incompetent. Yeah, but it was awesome to see that. It was awesome to see the Jedi tomb, and I actually really, I'll just throw it out there because no one's mentioned it yet. I love seeing finally who O'Shea Jackson Jr. is playing, which is a character by the name of Roken. We all know him as Ice Cube's son in real life, and
really,
I thought he looked like Ice Cube too.
yeah. So he actually played young Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton, and I quite enjoyed that movie a lot, and so I was really curious when he got casted. I was like, who the heck is he playing? Like, I can't even imagine him in Star Wars. I mean, I just know him as like the guy who plays his father in the movie that his father produced.
Now you know him as the reluctant rebel.
Now I know him as a guy who was married to a Jedi that ended up getting killed. So there we go. True. Yeah.
Or someone that's just force sensitive. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, he said it was a Jedi, and I have some suspicions I'll bring up in a bit. But let's start off with the top here. So we get a similar moment of a helpless Obi-Wan waking up in a back-to-tank, much like Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back. And we get a good look at these burns on his arm and his memories of the encounter with Vader that just haunt him in this moment. What a good way to start off the episode, picking up things where the last one left off. I really like that scene.
Yeah, and the parallel between them now, right? Because they've both been burned.
Yeah, Obi-Wan kind of experiencing a little...
It was shot really well. Hey, I was just bouncing between...
It was,
the both and the back to tanks, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We also get an interrogation scene with young Leia, which we brought up just now, and begs the question how this whole thing is going to resolve with the continuation of the story that Leia and Bail still keep their cover as Imperial senators right up until the Battle of Scarif.
Yeah, because Reva even openly says with like rebel sympathizers, right?
Yeah, or Jedi sympathizers, right? And it's like, well, if they're being, I guess, looked upon already as an enemy, this is 10 years before they're finally outed as part of the rebellion. How is the story supposed to resolve?
Well,
right?
This was something I was thinking about. Is Bail even alive at that point? Because do we know if he's alive during A New Hope when the Alderaan's blown up? Or even during Rogue One?
I think he dies on Alderaan.
Because he's in Rogue One, right? So he
you're right. There is that very brief cameo.
Yeah, and he actually says, I think he's going to Alderaan for something.
They wrote themselves into a corner, didn't they?
He actually gets hit directly by the Death Star laser.
They were aiming directly at him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, are you guys curious about this? Because I mean, this is 10 years prior to that event. So I mean, like, I just thought it was a little weird that, Leia's being put in this spotlight of like, you and your father are like, Jedi sympathizers, and yet they still go 10 years with their cover as Imperial senators, even though they're kind of working for the rebellion. Like, they still manage to keep that job for the next 10 years. That's a long time.
Unless Reva is the only one who knows that at this point, and then she gets killed.
Maybe.
Well, that's the thing. Like, Reva knows a lot. Like,
too much.
I don't remember what episode it was. Episode 2, I think. Like, at least in the comics, from what I know, anyone who knows that Anakin is Darth Vader, like completely like executes him right away, because he hates the fact that he is associated with that name.
Mm-hmm.
But
except
then,
for Tarkin.
Yeah, Tarkin. Yeah. But then like Reva knows who he is. Like, she tells Obi-Wan, and then now there's that big plot hole with like Leia too, where in A New Hope, she's like, years ago you served with my father in the Clone Wars, help me Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, she's talking as if she doesn't know him, but she kind of indirectly knows him.
I think my answer to that is that's why he goes by Ben, because he never actually called himself Obi-Wan in the series to her.
That's the thing, but Reva calls Ben Obi-Wan, and then she associates that name to Leia. So then there's kind of a plot hole there, right? So now she knows that Ben is Obi-Wan Kenobi, so I don't really understand how that works either.
That was something I wrote down in my notes, that her introduction to Obi-Wan, or her message that she sends to him, is very impersonal when you start to consider the events of this series, right? And it's almost as if the message she sends to Obi-Wan on Tatooine is that it's on her father's behalf, which is the only reason that I can now kind of try to make sense of why she introduces herself the way she does, in a very impersonal way, saying that, reminding Obi-Wan that he's served her father, right? And that's the only thing, because I mean, it is 10 years. She was a really young kid. I don't know if all of us can think back 10 years to the age that we were at and the memories we have left of that time that we were alive.
If you were 10 years old and you were kidnapped by an evil Sith sorceress, I think you'd remember it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. It's just like I'm just trying to picture though, like if I look back 10 years, like someone who I was maybe around for a very condensed amount of time, but for a very like important time, how would I reintroduce myself to that person 10 years later, right? Or how would that conversation go? And I can't even imagine what it would be like to be kidnapped and have that person be the savior of that, situation. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like there is a certain way of like looking at the chronology of events and go like, okay, that's definitely a plot hole. But then when you start to consider all these other things, it's like, can we let it slide? And
we don't know the ending yet either.
Right, we don't know the ending.
Maybe the Man in Black show up and they wipe her memory, right?
And that's kind of why I say like the impersonal way of bringing her father into the conversation, right? Because this is one thing that's always bothered me. Is with Clone Wars, we see Anakin and Dooku go at it all the time. And then in Revenge of the Sith, he kind of throws that little throwaway line about, my powers have doubled since the last time we met, Count. And
now we know that was 3 days ago.
It's like, dude, when was that? Was that last week? Was that 2 weeks ago?
Anakin says that every time.
Yeah.
Technically, in Revenge of the Sith, he's like, my powers have quintupled, sextupled since the last time we met.
Well said.
Dooku's like, sure, whatever.
Yeah. There was an interesting planet that presented itself in this episode, which prominently makes its way into the canon, going from an original EU comic background. Maybe Bryce, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I actually don't. Which planet was this?
It was Jabeam, which is the final planet in the
Jabeam,
path. Yeah, so there's a big, huge event that happens during the old EU Clone Wars in the Dark Horse comics, which featured a battle that happened on Jabeam with Obi-Wan and Anakin leading an assault on the planet. And, now that's not canon anymore, but of course, the Battle of Jabeam is like supposed to be this huge thing. And it's just interesting that the planet hasn't really been solidly introduced to the canon until now. Technically, it made an appearance in like an IDW Kids Star Wars Adventures comic in 2017. Nobody reads those, even though they are canon. You do? Okay. What a hero.
Before bed every night.
Yeah. It was also included in the FFG's RPG for The Force Awakens, but that's not really canon stuff. So I just thought it was kind of neat. And I thought I had suspicions, Bryce, that you might know Jabeam. I mean, you're the EU guy around here, so.
There was I think it's like it was like a pretty bloody battle, right? Like it's one of the battles where does the Republic actually lose?
I think it was something like that. Yeah, it was some dark stuff that happened. Yeah,
I remember because I was just reading through some of the comics, including some of the Clone Wars ones, and I think there's like a very like vicious battle where, you don't usually see like the Republic having to like, pack up and leave, and everything's blowing up, and all the Jedi are dead. So it's like, it was like a pretty dark comic. Yeah.
Yeah. So what a turn of events to use that planet as the saving grace for a lot of these Jedi making their way through the path, which is essentially just an underground railroad for smuggling Jedi to freedom, essentially. I just thought the irony was it was a good choice of planet to have that.
I bet Chip Palps is aware of this, and then he's going to collect all the Jedi on Jabeam and then blow it up.
Maybe Death Star victim number 4, whatever it is. Yeah. So Roken, O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character, married to an unnamed Jedi who survived the Purge and was later killed by Inquisitors. Perhaps we will see the story unfold at some point. I don't really know. Might be a cool story to revisit later. But he hates the Empire as much as anyone and agrees to help Obi-Wan infiltrate Nur. He also refers to Obi-Wan as General, which I thought was a nice little nod to his respect for Obi-Wan's status during the war.
There's a lot of
I thought he changed his mind real quick, hey, though? Ethan and I noted that. It's like, I'm not helping you. All right, look, if you want my help, you got it.
Yeah. It was almost like one of those classic like RPG GM kind of like, this is what we need to do to move the story along sort of things.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to roll a check.
It's like, I was like, oh, you failed the check. It's this hard note. Someone else rolls the check. Okay, you got it.
Yeah, it's like just a simple pass-fail check.
Yeah.
Let's just try again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, Fortress Inquisitorius, we talked about this in the What Happened episode for the Inquisitors. It's mentioned, it was a bit of a throwaway line by one of those people in the conversation when they on Jabim, that they had some T-47s just in the back, which were meant for hauling sewage. And I thought that was a really interesting way to describe what's later used as the snow speeder for the rebellion. I was like, wow. So this vehicle is actually just a piece of junk. It's just later they kind of make it useful.
Why do you make ships for hauling sewage have blasters on them?
I don't know. I was a little curious about that too. I was like,
sewage would give off methane.
Yeah. Wait, what are you guys' thoughts on this?
Are those the same ships like on Hoth?
Yeah. T-47 snow speeders.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're probably modified with blasters on them, right? I don't think like most, because they're simple speeders, right? You probably buy them stock from a company and they don't come with anything.
Right.
I would assume, because they're not military vehicles, right? Civilian.
So those tow hooks are for hanging around, for towing sewage.
It's kind of an interesting concept. I mean, it's almost like buying a garbage truck and then turning it into like a military tank transport.
So that means the Imperial's strongest tank is destroyed by garbage trucks.
Yeah. The walkers?
Yeah.
See him roping some garbage trucks, yeah.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but I thought the CGI for the speeders looked kind of odd.
It was bad.
Brutal.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Anytime you have a ship in Star Wars that's like hovering, it looks really wrong. Because you like you never see like those speeders never move like that. You know, when you see them in Empire, they're planes. Right, they're moving via like momentum, and you're like, if they stop, they just fall to the ground.
Right.
So to see one like hovering, and then like the angles were kind of like janky.
And the worst part about that is it made the N64 Rogue Squadron game non-canon because you can't stop in them.
It's true. You can go,
So well, we've talked a little bit about the interrogation with Leia and the pros and cons that come out of that. But Leia in her young age, one thing that I was like impressed with greatly was just how well they maintained her character, because she knows how to navigate Reva's deception really well. And for someone who's 10 years old, I was like, dang, like this is exactly I think what Leia would be like, if she was 10 years old. Like it just like props to the actress who plays her,
and that might also explain why when Vader interrogates her on the Death Star, he chooses to use an interrogation droid instead of the Force.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it failed with Reva. Yeah, maybe. Man, that's a great point.
I mean, it brings up her like her document. It's like, it looks like she's resistant. She's looks like she was interrogated as a 10-year-old.
I'm gonna bring in some truth serum.
Yeah, I mean, just furthering kind of the. I mean, I know, Ethan, you had some things to say about this interrogation. Did you have anything further to get into, like why you had some hesitancy in accepting that scene?
Yeah, I mean, like again, just because she's so young, and I guess like the interrogation, like it kind of seemed the questions were kind of odd that Reva was asking her. I just thought it dragged out too long. I don't think it was really going anywhere. And then eventually they just kind of throw her in the torture chamber anyway. So I don't know. I think they could have wrapped up that scene maybe in like a minute or two, not spend like 8 to 10 minutes doing
it was a good chunk of the episode. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did like seeing Leia. We already mentioned it, but Leia resists the mind probing or whatever it is that Reva has, that power she has. That kind of shows like the parallels of her being like a Skywalker and being so young. She has this awesome potential for the Force. So
that was really cool.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I thought that was cool, but yeah, I just think too much time spent on it was the issue.
I think they seem to be. They're almost afraid to make her like scared, even though a 10-year-old kid would probably be scared in that moment. They're like, oh, Leia would never be scared, but
that's why they threw that line in. When you look calm, you're actually really scared.
Yeah.
Maybe the actress who plays Leia just can't do it. Say through some throwaway line.
Then maybe find someone else.
Yeah.
Recast in the middle of the series.
Right.
Oh, I think I might have to head out soon, but there's one thing that I wanted to talk about before I headed out. I know you guys are probably more in tune with the Clone Wars than I am. And did you notice that one of the guys in the maple syrup was the the teacher?
Yeah, I did type that down. Yeah, Master Terra Sinube, who was the teacher who helped Ahsoka find her lost lightsaber.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah. He's got that wicked lightsaber that's white. It pulls out of the cane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 He's all like shriveled up in there. He's
already so old.
I barely noticed him. I was like, "What is that? A piece of beef jerky, or is that guy from the Clone Wars?"
That's a good catch though, and it's honestly it's such a great. Just skipping ahead to what you're talking about there with the whole Jedi tomb thing. We know from Star Wars Rebels that Luminara Unduli was used as bait at one point by the Inquisitor to lure Kanan and Ezra to a particular place, which is where he fights them for, I think, the first time, if I'm not mistaken. And they believe that a Jedi is alive, and so they go after her or whatever. They fake these holograms to make it look like she's alive, and it turns out it's just her corpse in a box. And to me, I've always thought it was curious why they've kept a corpse of a Jedi in a box for over 15 years at that point, right? And now it makes total sense that they probably just pulled the corpse out of one of these vats that they're preserving the bodies in, right? And then they took it to go, kind of thing. Where in actual fact, they've got 30 or more of these dead Jedi bodies just in this basement, in this tomb. So what a great scene, to have all that down there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, there's some of these Inquisitor guys at the door, so they just want me to answer a few questions, so I'm gonna have to head out.
Just don't tell them where we are or where we're going.
Yeah, no worries. I'm
We're
sure
on
it'll
the
be fine. I'm sure I'll be back in 5 minutes, but if I'm not, just continue on.
Sounds good, man. We'll catch you later. See you in a bit.
All
right.
Did any other of those people in the tomb, were they familiar, or was it just the guy at the beginning?
Yeah,
I didn't personally recognize anyone else.
I recognized, I don't know about you guys, but I recognized the lady Jedi who gets shot in the Jedi Purge opening scene to the first episode of the show, where she was protecting the younglings and she gets shot.
Oh, that was her.
She was one of them.
Right.
There was another one that they zoomed in on who I didn't recognize, but it looked as if she was wearing some un-Jedi-like garb and some necklaces and stuff like that.
I was wondering about her if she's just like a ancient Force user or something.
That's the Jedi that I thought was married to O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character. Mainly because Jedi aren't supposed to have attachments, right? Mm-hmm. So why would they bejewel themselves? Like, why would they have necklaces and, whatever else? I don't know. To me, she just looked like... That just looks like a mom or a Shmi Skywalker kind of character, right? Just the garbs that she was wearing, and it was just curious because she's like the most un-Jedi like looking person in the mix, and they focused in on her too.
She wasn't a Jedi.
Yeah, and that's why I thought it was weird because they're all Jedi in that room. They're all Jedi that and the Inquisitor specifically have killed between the Purge and now, right? Which is the 10-year gap. So to me, I was like, oh well, maybe they focused in on her because she was that Jedi that married Roken or whatever his name is.
Oh, do you think they'll come up later? Well, now that Obi-Wan at the end is back with the rebellion, he's interacting with this Roken guy. That might come up as a conversation.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. What were you saying, Ethan?
Oh, I was just going to mention, I know you mentioned, Jedi can't have attachments. There was, I had, brief knowledge of something called Gray Jedi. They were ones that, I think they had, different colored lightsabers or something, but they were, separate from the Jedi Order. I guess during the time of the Galactic Republic, and they were more like citizens, so they kind of acted in their own
Yeah.
boundaries, but they still held to like the Force or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah. So in the recent canon, they've kind of moved away from that during the days of the Clone Wars and the Republic, but they've reintroduced that as an idea in the High Republic era, which is the new Republic era, I guess, which takes place prior to the prequel trilogy by about 200 years or so. They've reintroduced the idea that Jedi have relations with people as long as they don't maintain the attachment side of it. And some of them have a job called a way, what's the term I'm looking for? Is it there's a specific, you remember who's that Jedi? I think her name's Orla. She was the one that had the double white lightsaber in the Light of the Jedi novel. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Singer or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, she was
the one chosen to lead the Citadel or whatever, right?
In the High Republic? Mm-hmm. I forget. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, I think she was the one that was chosen to run the new the space station.
Oh, the star. Oh no, not her. I know who you're talking about though. I'm talking about there's a Jedi who she has a role within the Order at the time where she kind of just she's like a Qui-Gon character. She kind of
was Wayseeker the word?
Yeah, Wayseeker. I think that's it. I think it's Wayseeker. Yeah. You know what? It's Wayseeker, and I'm trying to think. I was like, is it Wayfinder? Like, no, that's the little holocron thing.
I was thinking the same thing. Like,
that's
what Kylo Ren uses.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess we all the term way I guess is used a lot. Do you know the way?
This is the way.
Yeah. This is the way. Yeah. Wayfinder. Thank you, Darian. Wayfinder is kind of the new canon.
Wayseeker.
Wayseeker. The Wayseeker is like the new canon version to the kind of like what you're describing, Noah or Ethan. Sorry, is the Gray Jedi-esque kind of character.
Though Ahsoka did somewhat become a bit of a Gray Jedi.
Yeah,
towards the end as well.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, but she's no longer refers to herself as a Jedi, which is kind of the
but it's what was traditionally a Gray Jedi in the EU.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Tala and her cover as an Imperial officer really has some leverage as she bypasses security in the fortress, and
she's really bad at being a secret mole. Just saying.
Well, it's great to see her like a visual reminder that these code cylinders that they keep on their jackets are actually basically clearance keys. Like it's great to have that visual cue because I feel like we never really get that in the movies. It's just something you get from like the books and stuff.
And Mandalorian did it as well.
Yeah, Mandalorian did it as well. But it's just it's great to see that like that solid continuation of this is what those are for, because most people would not know. Yeah, they're not just pens, or keychains. So
checks.
Yeah. Your Pez dispenser.
Little Darth Vader pen.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you guys' thoughts on Tala? I mean, we've seen her now for 2 episodes.
I think this would have been a good episode for her to die in, to be honest, because I feel like. I know it sounds dark, but I feel like the good guys always getting away. Like they killed off that random pilot, but it didn't really feel like a sacrifice. You know what I mean? I would have felt that if she had died in this, like giving up her life to save Obi-Wan and Leia, it would have been a lot more meaningful.
Like Reva could have killed her, right? Like maybe during that scene.
Yeah, that would have worked.
Yeah, that would have also it would have been a bit more gravitational because then we actually get some sort of sacrifice towards Obi-Wan's survival, right? So that would have been kind of a good story.
Like I said, they tried to do that with that random speeder guy who was almost comical.
What was his name? Wayne or something? There was a W. Wasn't it? It was like a nobody character.
Yeah. I didn't even know.
They pretty much brought him in to kill him, so if there's no emotional attachment.
Well, pretty much, yeah.
He was attacking her in the speeder, not moving, and then he
like what are you doing?
In front of the explosive, not knowing it was there.
Yeah, well, she force throws like an explosive fuel canister at him.
Gets the wrong one.
Yeah, but honestly, like when he died and went down with the ship, like I honestly was like,
Meh.
oh, okay, whatever.
That's what I mean. I wonder if it was supposed to be her, and then they got cold feet and just threw in some random person, so somebody died.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, who knows? But
Do
yeah.
you think it matters if scenes like I feel like multiple movies, not just Star Wars, have this scene where someone is sneaking in and then the other is like doing something like I can't name a movie now that I'm thinking about
I
it,
need a
but
distraction.
you know what I mean?
Movie, like,
Yeah, I need a distraction. I'm gonna wear like the clone uniform or the Imperial uniform, and you sneak in. Like this happens in every.
Well,
third
it's
movie.
just it all goes back to my theory that Star Wars and Fast and Furious have like been writing on the parallel for quite a while
They
now.
hire the same
Yeah,
writers.
it's because in Fast 5 they pull that whole police station stint, and they get the two quick Spanish-speaking guys to put on janitors' uniforms and sneak into the police station and jiffy up the camera system and cause a huge like toilet explosion, and the rude officer gets like a massive flow of poop water
They should
flowing
have
up.
did that. They should have had Tara or whoever her name was. She should have went into the can and rigged up explosives in the toilets, in the fresheners.
Yeah, in the refresher.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Not the crisper that's in your fridge.
What do you guys think about Tala throwing out the name of the Grand Inquisitor when she's trying to bypass the security? I thought it was a very curious conversation that she had with the security guard, because she doesn't know that the Grand Inquisitor died, or so like. We all know that the Grand Inquisitor shows up in Rebels, right?
We don't know if that's also
Yeah.
just
But-
a loophole in canon at this point.
No, I have enough faith that they're not gonna break it that hard.
Maybe that's why they needed season 2.
Yeah, I have no
Oh
idea.
no!
I have no idea. But whatever the case is, she doesn't know that the Grand Inquisitor was gutted and that he hasn't shown up since, right? We haven't seen him. But she threatens the security officer and that she'll rat him out to the Grand Inquisitor if she isn't allowed to pass. And the officer doesn't know about this supposed demise either, because all we've heard as far as his status from Vader is that the Grand Inquisitor doesn't matter, or he's irrelevant right now, right? It came up in the conversation when he was talking to Reva, and I just thought it was a very curious little back and forth that they had, that neither of them know about what the fate of this character is, and to savor something like that and yet still bring it up, it just goes to show they're waiting for this reveal that he's still alive. And I get this feeling like by the end of the show, he's going to come back.
So instead of
Yeah.
her being killed by Vader, she's going to be killed by the original Grand Inquisitor.
Yeah, and I think this whole thing is a test, honestly. I think all of this is to test Reva in some weird Sith way that they do. Vader's going about something.
That seems like a bit much for Vader to use like his greatest foe as like a
Maybe.
test for a random Inquisitor.
Here's the thing. I just hate to look at the whole thing as this is an excuse to put Reva in the spotlight. Like the whole like shoving Grand Inquisitor out of the way just with a simple stab in the gut. Like I just hate to look at that as a simple way.
Yeah, it's too easy.
It's too easy. Yeah, it's too easy. There's got to be something bigger in the story that
like how did he not see that coming?
gives it cause,
They're
right?
Sith.
I mean, he's a dark Jedi, so like, it just doesn't make sense, right? Like he's a guy who is specifically been trained in multiple lightsaber art forms. We've seen him face Kanan and Ezra in battle, and he fights Kanan with like a couple swings. He already knows exactly what Jedi lightsaber format he's using against him, and he's able to tell him exactly who his master is. Like, to me, that was always like a really crucial part of that character when we're introduced to him in Rebels, is by fighting Kanan, he knows that his master was Master Depa Billaba. And it's like, wow, that's a pretty crazy skill to have. Can you imagine?
Knowing the Jedi Masters that well.
Yeah, knowing the Jedi
recognize
Masters. Yeah, exactly.
their forms.
Yeah, exactly. So he's almost like, to me, he's like a Master Sifo Dyas, but gone bad sort of deal. Like he's just like really skilled with a lightsaber. So to me, it never made sense that he just goes down so easy in this show without having like an actual purpose behind it. And I have enough faith in the writers that they'll actually come up with some sort of good excuse for that. But
That being said, I mean, there's only realistically like 50 minutes left of material.
Right.
Right.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
they gotta
I mean,
explain a lot in the next 50 minutes. Like that's assuming the episodes are only going to be
I mean,
25 minutes long,
I
not
really
including
hope
credits.
the last
but-
two are an hour each.
they've all been about an hour.
Yeah, between 37 and
Well-
47 minutes, but
But then you got credits on top of that, though.
yeah, you get credits on top of that. So
Material-wise, are we at like 30 minutes?
yeah, it's like between 30 and 40 minutes, basically.
Well,
but
let me throw this at you. When you watch Rise of Skywalker, how much information did they cram into that 2 hours? They cut that in half.
True.
they didn't make the
I think-
movie long enough.
Enough to make me not want to watch it again.
Yeah, this last episode, actual episode time is about 30 minutes without credits.
Tighter than I thought.
Yeah, this is really tight. So I hope the last two they utilize the time.
That's why they
better.
stretched out that interrogation scene.
One thing to note about these probe droids that pop up in this episode, which I thought was interesting, they called them seeker droids. We've seen probe droids, we've seen viper droids, we've seen seeker droids, we've seen numerous amount of the same kind of droid. They're always different. They're always different sizes. They're
because the original probe droids are huge.
yeah, exactly. So what's the deal, right? So I decided to kind of throw this in there. They're all different styles, different shapes, different models, all this sort of thing. The term seeker droid specifically in the canon has been used once for a very, in my memory, a very specific character, which was Iden Versio's little droid that she wears on her backpack
Right.
in the Battlefront 2 campaign story. And if anyone played that game, you'll know what those droids are capable of. So I just thought it was a cool little inclusion into the episode that they managed to call them seeker droids. And
Hers is smaller than.
hers is smaller, yeah. Hers is different, but they kept the sort of style similar, in the sense that they just kind of float around and open doors, and I guess they've got a blaster on them or whatever. But
I love how it just floats around and sees something. It doesn't immediately attack. It just starts beeping.
yeah.
And then when other stormtroopers show up, it finally attacks.
These droids have been around for a very long time. We've seen them pop up in the Darth Maul comic book prior to Phantom Menace. That was included in our canon inclusion in the story, the Darth Maul What Happened episode that we did. And they've been around for a little while. So it was just a great little inclusion for this episode. I just thought it was worth throwing it out there.
Why do we keep going to Imperial facilities and we never see K2SO droids?
It's a good point. I feel like they should include them a little more because they are designed for security.
And load lifting.
And infiltration, I guess, because they're big tanky droids, right? But
you think if they were sticking with the canon of what we saw in Jedi Fallen Order, they should have been on the temple.
You're right. Yeah. It might have just been a lack of budget for how much they could have done with the visual effects side. Because we, the K2SO robot in Rogue One was all motion capture, CGI technology. So, with this particular episode, they had a lot of help from the 501st to bring all the stormtroopers to life, as they did with the Mandalorian. Such a great group to go to for resources in that sense.
Yeah, save a lot of money.
Yeah, you certainly do. The 501st costume group. So that was a great little budget cut there. But
I bet you there's somebody who dresses up as K2.
yeah, can you imagine going from Rogue One and watching this show, like the going from a CG K2SO droid to a costume? It'd be so obvious though that the legs
Put the
and
background
everything.
out of focus. Good enough.
Yeah, I don't know. No, you're right though. I feel like it would have been a very minor inclusion that they could have done very easily. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't put him in there, but it is what it is. Let's see. Obi-Wan's Star Killer moment in the dark. Did you guys like that scene where he comes into the torture room?
Oh, you mean
And
watching the trailer for
Force Unleashed 2? Yeah, Force Unleashed 2. I don't know if you guys recall the trailer, the cinematic trailer for Force Unleashed 2 when Star Killer goes into he's like captured and then he breaks out of his chains and he just all you see is whenever he kills someone the lightsaber goes on and then it turns off and he disappears and they're shooting around the room trying to find him. And then he comes out of nowhere again. And I just thought it was a really cool.
It was better than the trailer. I'm sorry. I love the idea.
Yeah, it was.
It looks super cool, but it has to be a smaller room with more stormtroopers, which I prefer the trailer version.
Yeah. Did you guys, Ethan and Darian, did you guys ever play Force Unleashed 2?
I haven't, but again, like with all these video games, I usually end up watching the campaign on YouTube, so I have good amount of knowledge from it, I think.
This is an older one. I think it's 2009.
Yeah, about there. Yeah, it's quite
Yeah, it's a
quite
pretty cool game.
dated by now. Yeah, and the trailers are always so great. They do a great job with those cinematic trailers.
And Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer, yeah, or Sam Witwer. He's going to be a Lucasfilm lifer.
I want to see him live action, man.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Star Killer.
I always thought it was the Inquisitors. I always thought the Inquisitors were a great way to recanonize that character, and they still haven't done it yet.
Unless he's an additional one who's still a secret apprentice.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get that far. I don't know.
I don't know. Someone needs to find out if Dave Filoni liked the Force Unleashed idea or not.
Yeah. We see Obi-Wan's use of a lightsaber and the Force at a new peak in this show, and in the escape with Leia from the fortress. And I must say, seeing a Jedi fight stormtroopers is always very cool and very rare, because we don't, even with Luke Skywalker, we don't really get that. We don't really get a whole lot of lightsaber action with him slicing down stormtroopers. So it was a cool thing to see, because other than the games and the animated series, we haven't had that yet. You know?
I'm trying to remember, did we actually see any of the stormtroopers get cut in half or
No.
delimbed?
No.
That's so strange to me that they wouldn't do it there, but they were fine doing it when that stormtrooper falls off onto the laser gate.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess so.
Because you think if they didn't do it, it was for a rating. So why would it be different?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he didn't. Maybe he just didn't feel the need to go that far, I guess. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on his lightsaber action?
I thought it was really cool. Like, I liked how raw it was. Like, you can tell that that lightsaber was hot. Like, it was burning them as it was cutting through them. And I think that one of my biggest takeaways from this episode, I think the lighting's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I love that scene of in the darkness you guys were just talking about. It's a little bit cheesy, but it just looks so cool. And because we haven't seen him use a lightsaber that much in this series, for him to use it there, it was a cool moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want more of it against Darth Vader, maybe.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely a much better environment than that last episode where Vader and Obi-Wan are fighting on this kind of
the
gravel pit.
Construction gravel pit. I thought it was a much better scene to have some lightsaber action in a nice Imperial base. That was really cool to see, and all the stormtroopers and shiny armor and everything. It just looks really cool visual effects wise.
I take it, Ethan, you're not going to be first in line to get that $50 Lego set, which recreates the iconic dirt pit scene.
Yeah, it actually comes with real dirt.
It comes with little buckets where you spill the little golden, amber, orange Lego pieces onto the ground, and
then Obi-Wan can run and hide behind the pile of Lego gravel.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like what they could have done, I don't know if this would work, but maybe last episode they don't have Obi-Wan and Darth Vader meet, and then in this episode they meet in a hallway or something, or on the way out on that
mm-hmm.
I don't know, the open air part of that building. They could meet before he takes off or something. That would have been a cooler setting than the gravel pit.
I'm convinced we're gonna get another. We're gonna get another
100%.
duel.
Yeah.
If we don't, I'm gonna be severely disappointed. But I feel like the story's kind of headed in that direction. Where
So you don't
for
want
sure.
to see Obi-Wan just be chumped?
Yeah, I mean, what kind of a
Like
epic.
Boba Fett, he'll rise again.
Yeah, but I feel like even from the moment they announced this show, they hyped up the duel between him and Anakin again so hard, right? They went full marketing spree on this is Vader versus Obi-Wan again. And if that was it, I'm gonna be depressed.
Well, they need to.
I think there's got to be something better.
Yeah, there's got to be something better. I feel like it's leading that way with him
I'm thinking that my hypothesis is, because obviously we know they both end up being alive, and then they're not just going to shake hands and walk away.
Yeah.
So I think Obi-Wan is somehow going to fake his death, or he's going to be near death or something.
Yeah.
So I think.
And Darth Vader thinks he's won and leaves.
And that's why you get the reaction on the Death Star where Darth Vader he senses him, right? It was this is a presence I haven't felt since, and he kind of trails off he's surprised and almost a little bit baffled.
Well, when he confronts Tarkin about it, he's almost surprised that he's alive.
Yeah, Tarkin too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is curious. I mean, maybe Obi-Wan will fake his death, much like how he survived Order 66.
Yeah.
So
Fell off the cliff.
yeah. I guess we'll find out in a week or
Well,
two.
maybe we'll see a Cody cameo where Cody shoots him again. And then...
Yeah, that would be awesome. I mean, we've had Tamara Morrison already make a cameo appearance in the show, so that would be that would be cool.
Drunk 501st.
Cody comes back to finish the job. Yeah. But yeah, I must say, it's very cool. I know I keep bringing up Jedi Fallen Order all the time, but
there's a lot of parallels. There's so much to talk about there.
There is, and something I really liked about that game was because it's very video gamey when you start off with no Force abilities and you kind of get better and better and better as time goes by. Whereas Force Unleashed, it was like that, and you got to this insane like God level mode, and it's kind of the idea of the game, but also kind of breaks canon by a long shot. And
you don't want to be able to pull down a Star Destroyer.
Yeah, no, exactly. And with Cal Kestis, it was such a great character because you start off with like the bare basics of a Jedi who's kind of lost tune with his feelings, right? With his discipline in the Force, so he's not able to do what he used to do. And as the game goes by, you begin to relearn those things as a skill set, and the powers don't necessarily exceed what you were probably able to do before, or maybe you could do more than you used to as a young boy, kind of thing. But
he was
now,
a Padawan,
yeah,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
With
exactly.
Other Jedi Knights and stuff, comparatively.
Right. So where that applies in this show is we've seen Obi-Wan very quickly kind of start to regain his ability to feel the Force again because he's shut himself off for so long, much like how Luke has done in the sequels, right? And
it's like a leak. So it starts with a few drops of water getting through, and it gets to flow, and the hole gets bigger and bigger.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And at the beginning of this, I think it was the beginning of this episode or sometime in the last episode where we saw him try to move like a little wrench or something on the box, and he could hardly do it. And then in this episode now in like the later half when he's trying to block the window, it's like, dang, that's like a huge leap from where he was trying to move a little thingamajig.
And simultaneously blocking blaster bolts.
Yeah, while he's blocking blaster bolts, so doing all that stuff. So I guess the action has kind of like forced him into the
muscle memory.
Yeah, the muscle memory. Yeah, exactly. So I feel like the next 2 episodes will get a lot more of a capable General Kenobi again.
So you think we're going to get episode 3 Kenobi duel versus
I don't know if it'll go that
Vader?
far. I don't think we'll ever see him the way he was, but it is worth noting that he's going to not be completely useless. We saw some pretty cool hand-to-hand combat, but nothing short of a blaster, right? And it's great to see him kind of recover some of his abilities a little bit to be at least a more capable Jedi than he is right now.
It was also something that just crossed my mind right now that we haven't talked about. It's interesting to see Obi-Wan using a blaster after going on and about uncivilized they are in both trilogies.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he has found himself as like part of the dregs.
Right. Well, he's got something to relate to it, I guess, right? So uncivilized. And he's like...
Yeah, he sees himself as that, right?
Yeah, exactly. He's living that life now, yeah. So, yeah, that's a great point. Obi-Wan has a touching moment comforting Leia at the end of their narrow escape. And with only 2 episodes left, what are we going to see in the last...
Why were there no TIE fighters?
That's a great... that's a great...
Yeah, why didn't they chase after them?
Yeah, there was only 2 speeders, and didn't we see like the whole roof is just full of TIE fighters?
Well, Reva said she let them get away. So like in Vader's interrogation with her, she says that, and she says...
Which, by the way, annoyed me because that means that she did before Vader and gave him the idea.
Yeah, I guess so. With like the Millennium Falcon, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, like, those speeders did kill like 95% of the stormtroopers that were on that platform anyway, so I don't think anybody could have flown the TIE fighters if they wanted to.
Well, I think the TIE pilots were winning up top.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if they lower them down or what, but yeah, that was kind of an odd scene. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
And no air defense either.
This
is an entirely defenseless facility.
Didn't Reva mention something about locking the facility down or like...
Well, the fifth brother, the fifth brother said something about locking
it down.
Yeah, and they started to
over
do
intense
that,
voice.
Yeah, honestly though he's been great. Son Hank, he's been absolutely fantastic.
You like
I
it?
recognize him.
I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I hate it or I love it. I don't
After
know.
seeing him in Fast and Furious and now seeing him as the fifth brother, after watching Fifth Brother and Rebels, like it's honestly like he's done such a great job at bringing that character to life.
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't seen Rebels, but I think maybe my opinion would change if I've seen that. But as of what I just see from Obi-Wan, I'm like, wow, this guy's really intense. Always pissed.
He's always mad. Yeah. Well, with 2 episodes left, I mean, do you guys have any thoughts on what we're gonna see? And also taking in the rumor that the final episode might be reworked. That's the kind of the floating around on the internet about, you know, various different re-edits, reshoots. We might get a second season to this particular show, possibly something focusing on Reva or who knows what. Maybe at this point it's a young Leia show. I have no idea, but you know, just taking in all of what we know. What are your guys' thoughts on and hopes for the last 2 episodes? Let me start with you, Darian.
Yeah, I feel like, so you're saying there could be like an Obi-Wan season 2 or more of like a spin-off thing?
I mean, there could be. Yeah, there could be a season 1.
They haven't shut it down? Because I thought it was, I thought even listening from you guys, I heard that it was like an only like 6-part thing. Like that's it.
Yeah, it
But
was. It was. I've started to see a lot of tweets going around now, though, that there's some reworks happening. That the second season could potentially be a thing, and you know they could always. They never confirmed that it was ever going to be.
Okay.
They just said it was a mini-series. So, and a mini-series can be 2 seasons because Andor is going to be, you know, not an ongoing series either. So that'll have like a total of 2 seasons, I believe, as well. So, yeah, we could see a second season.
I'll base my opinion off of there only being 2 more episodes left. I think, yeah, I would like to see something. Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, just to kind of redeem himself. Like, I don't need something as intense as like the Mustafar battle, but like just something to kind of show that Obi-Wan is still somewhat capable, like he once was. I would like to see less Leia if possible. I want her to go back home and just stay there. Like, no more Obi-Wan like wasting his time following her and finding her, because we've seen that in other shows. Honestly, that's they always make these shows interesting. So I just want to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. That's all I want.
Yeah.
That's why they give it to us in such small doses.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all anyone wants.
Or, you know what? And flashbacks of some sort would be cool. I think that was a little bit lacking in this last episode. They could have given us a little more flashbacks.
Utilize Hayden a bit more.
Yeah, and like I think they could even I don't know how they would like somehow show his face a bit. You know what I mean? Like when he's in the tank, you can't really tell it's him because there's so much like
makeup,
makeup and stuff. But if they could somehow show it, I don't know, it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. Ethan, what are your thoughts and hopes for the last 2 episodes that we're getting?
Yeah, I'll have to agree with Darian on the flashback stuff, and as well as seeing more Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Yeah, honestly, man, I think they could spend 10 minutes on flashbacks in one of the 2 episodes that are coming up. I want to see stuff from Clone Wars. I want to see more Order 66 stuff. Anakin walking through the temple, maybe hunting Jedi.
That'd be cool.
You know, I really would have liked to see when they linked Obi-Wan and Vader in the bacta tanks in this episode. That's where I wanted to see flashbacks. That would have been a perfect opportunity. I think I've heard a couple other commentaries say the same thing, so my opinion isn't really independent, but yeah, a lot more Clone Wars flashbacks would be nice, just kind of relating the 2. And then, yeah, just more focus on kind of Obi-Wan's development. Like, I want to see him talk to Qui-Gon, maybe Master Yoda, like, just him really, like, tapping into the Force again, really showing him, like, meditating on that, just to build his character arc even more and to bring him back to that hopeful Obi-Wan that we see, you know, in A New Hope and in Rebels, where he's with Maul and he's a super confident fighter again. So, yeah, less Reva, less Leia. I just want more of the 2 characters that I came to see, because it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, and that's what I'm here for. So,
yeah, totally. I got you there. Blake, bring us home here. What are you hoping for the last 2 episodes of Obi-Wan?
I'm gonna go against the grain a bit, because I kind of, as far as like, sure, to see the visuals of seeing Obi-Wan and Vader fighting again. I think it'd be awesome. But as far as the greater scheme of the story, I think it's better if they don't. And I'm saying that because Vader is now in a position that he thinks Obi-Wan is weak. So it makes sense in episode 4. And Obi-Wan was weak, and now he feels that he needs to bring himself back up to that level. And we already know he reaches that by the time he duels Maul. So I think I would be okay with him returning back to Tatooine and starting to become more of a traditional samurai and really getting into his roots. And as I was just mentioned, I think Qui-Gon's going to show up, and that's going to be part of that.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. That's what I would like.
Yeah. No, that's certainly a great way to look at it as well. Man, lots of great speculation, and with only 2 episodes left, it'll be not that long before we find out what it's all coming to. I do really also hope that Liam Neeson makes his appearance in this show and shows up as a Force Ghost finally. I feel like that'll be the re-pinnacle again to kind of show us, oh yeah, once he was able to communicate with Qui-Gon, now he's able to do it again because he's once again in touch with the Force again fully and able to do what he used to do. So perhaps by the last episode we'll get that version of Obi-Wan again, and a much more hopeful version like what we see in Star Wars Rebels and A New Hope. So however that happens, I'm game. Fellas, thank you all for joining the show this week, and it was great chatting with all of you, Ethan, Darian, and of course Blake. Thank you all for chatting, and we will see you in the next one.
Keep flying.
All right, and to all our listeners tuning in from home, thank you for once again listening in on Star Wars Escape Pod. We're looking forward to the last 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We still got to get around to our deleted scenes for the anthology films at some point, where we go over deleted scenes for Rogue One and Solo and a variety of other pieces of Star Wars in different areas, and more What Happened episodes around the corner for all those characters that you want full-length canon review story arcs for. Break it down one bit at a time. So, may the Force be with you all, and we will see you in the next one.